So it's a new year, and yeah, we don't really have a whole lot to look forward to. Even a trip to get images of 2025 brings a sense of dread. So what do we do to distract ourselves from the fact that the world is the toilet? Movies. And they're also not in great shape. But despite the overall cynicism running through Hollywood, there's still a lot of stuff here that's good. Most of the best movies are smaller stuff where they air their first trailer a few months before it comes out and you've never heard of it at the beginning of the year, which I guess makes it hard to make a video like this. But with some research and the fact that I've seen most big trailers out there, I can still come up with some good non-cash grab movies and a few cash grabs that might not be too horrible. Most of these are sequels and reboots, but really there isn't a whole lot else that I know much about. And well, since I had a top 10 best of the year list in last year's video, I should probably do it for this one too. This is subject to change since I haven't seen all the Oscar type movies yet. At the time I'm writing this, it's still the beginning of December, so it definitely isn't a complete list. Number 10 is Deadpool and Wolverine. Sorry, not sorry. Number 9 is Smile 2. Number 8, Inside Out 2. Number 7, Thelma. Number 6, Strange Darling. Number 5, Dee Dee. Number 4, Wicked. Number 3, The Substance. Number 2 is The Wild Robot. And at number 1, we've got an animated film from Latvia called Flow. If you haven't heard of it, it's great, go see it. Also, before I get started, no, Through the Spider-Verse is not going to be number 1 again this time. Shit's never going to come out. Ever. Okay, but let's get into the list. Starting from the bottom, number 23 on this top 10 list is The Naked Gun. Yes, we're getting a reboot of the classic spoof movie. But since Leslie Nielsen can't reprise his role on account of being dead for over a decade...
Emmett, you didn't let me finish earlier, because I died.
This movie will instead star Liam Neeson. Did this need a reboot? I don't know. Will this just be a cheap knockoff of what made the original work? I don't know. But I like the original trilogy, would still like to see another, and I'm glad that at least one silly comedy like this is making a comeback in theaters. Unless it gets moved to some streaming platform last minute. And it's probably a good move for Liam Neeson after making the same movie for the past few years. Now he's in something that'll probably make fun of his on-screen persona. Either way, it should at least be interesting. At number 22, we've got The Amateur. When I saw the trailer online, I gave it a like and added it to my Letterboxd watch list, and by my own rules, that means I have to put it on the list. It stars Rami Malek as a guy who works behind the desk at the CIA, and his wife is murdered, so he goes rogue to go after the ones who killed her. From what I've seen, it looks like Malek can hold his own as an action hero. I mean, he was great as a Bond villain, so I guess it shouldn't be too surprising that he looks this cool as a good spy. This could be fun. Okay, last minute edition of something I watched the trailer for while making this video and added to the watch list. Call it number 21.5. It's Novocaine. It's an action movie where a normal man has to rescue his girlfriend. Hey, this sounds familiar. The thing that separates this from The Amateur is the idea that this man has a rare condition where he can't feel pain, and he uses that to his advantage in a bunch of over-the-top ways. Looks like dumb, comically ridiculous fun. I just want to make this quick and say it could be good. At number 21, it's Avatar: Fire and Ash. Oh hey, look, it's that movie that everyone says has no cultural impact, yet still somehow manages to draw in the entire culture every time it shows up in theaters. Yes, I am still on board with this kind of thing. The Way of Water may have dragged a bit, but it's undeniable that it all looks more amazing than any other CGI blockbuster. James Cameron's passion project continues to dazzle, and I'm still excited to revisit Pandora. Number 20 is Love Hurts, another entry to the I added it to my watch list after the trailer so I gotta put it here list. Ke Huy Quan gets his own version of Nobody, and it looks cool. I guess the shift to full-on action hero lead role isn't too surprising for Quan considering he was basically one in everything everywhere all at once. Still kind of an inspiring trajectory for the guy who famously quit acting because he thought his race was getting in the way of getting good roles, and eventually was convinced that the industry changed and immediately won an Academy Award for his first role back. At least some things are better than they were. And he seems to be at home in this sort of comedic action role. Basically, if you wanted more of him fighting in everything everywhere all at once, this is that kind of movie. And it looks like it will deliver on the goods. At number 19, it's Dogman, based on the children's book from Dav Pilkey after he finished writing his most famous series, Captain Underpants. Okay, his name is actually pronounced Dave, but I have trouble with that since I spent so much of my childhood unsure of that and just called him Dav. Anyway, as I may have already implied, yes, I did grow up with Captain Underpants. But this series was past my time. But this movie version seems to be a little interesting. It's from DreamWorks Animation, which also did the Captain Underpants movie, and they did that series justice. But even if I knew nothing about the books, I would probably still enjoyed that movie despite the hit and miss toilet humor for its style and probably also the humor. With this one, I still see that kind of style. It does indeed look like one of George and Harold's Captain Underpants comic art come to life. We'll just have to wait and see if they do something wild like the sock puppet scene or whatever from the Captain Underpants movie. And the fact that this doesn't appear to revolve around toilet humor the way that movie did, this might be a little more up my more mature alley. Number 18, The Bad Guys 2. The first Bad Guys was a fun animated movie. I never read the books that these movies are apparently based on. I haven't really read a lot of children's books in general recently. Probably not that big of a surprise. But the movie was still a pretty fun time on its own. I'd like to see more of these guys. In this sequel, they are basically forced into doing one last bad job. It would be interesting to see where this movie goes. Number 17 is Ballerina. This was originally supposed to come out last year but got moved to this year. I actually put it on last year's list, and I haven't really got anything new to say about it, so I'll just play what I said before. A spin-off of a character from the John Wick movies, played by Ana de Armas. Who would have guessed that one small R-rated action movie where a guy tries to avenge his dog would turn into the cultural phenomenon it is now. And now it's getting its first movie spin-off. The Continental was a TV spin-off. Kind of inspiring. This might be turning into the next cinematic universe. I kinda hope it doesn't. Or at least that it doesn't get to the Marvel level. I don't want to see this kind of thing get oversaturated. I think even general audiences are getting sick of Marvel at this point. Then again, people have been saying that for years and it still hasn't died yet. I remember when Age of Ultron made slightly less than expected and people thought Marvel was losing popularity. But whatever, it should still be great to see the kind of violent action the franchise is known for, just with a different face doing it. Hell yeah. At number 16, we've got Megan 2.0, the sequel to the horror hit that also went viral online. I probably like that one more than most people in the horror and general movie circle, although a lot of that probably stems from the fact that I saw it in a pretty packed theater with an audience that was really into it. I just generally like horror movies with a crazy premise and a tongue-in-cheek sense of humor. Whether the original was one of the better of those recently or just a simply decent one that was built up by TikTok dances, I don't know. But I still had a lot of fun with it, and I hope to see more of that type of thing in this one. At number 15, it's Zootopia 2, another soulless Disney sequel. Hey, still better than a soulless Disney remake. What if we did the exact film but worse? Okay, I'm using Snow White as an example, but while I hope that against all reason that they all bomb, I'm still hoping even further against all reason that this one bombs the least hard, simply to piss off people who hate it for the wrong reasons. And its troubled production history kind of makes it slightly more of an underdog story than Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. Yes, I know that last one isn't Disney. Shit, I got off topic. Anyway, back on target. I'm not sure if this is going to be as cynical as I let on. Frozen and Moana kind of felt like there wasn't much more to tell. I haven't seen any of the sequels, so I don't know whether or not they're bad. The point is that, unlike them, Zootopia actually had some stuff that kind of made me want to see more. Just more of these characters trying to solve stuff. At some point it'll probably turn into the family version of the Lethal Weapon movies or something, except more socially conscious. And it'll be interesting to have them continue with that commentary and see how it has changed over the past few years. I think Zootopia was among the better recent Disney animated movies, and I'd like to see it continue. At number 14 comes 28 Years Later, the second sequel to the zombie classic 28 Days Later. Danny Boyle returns to direct this, and Alex Garland returns to write, continuing the story and letting us all know where the world is 28 years after the events of the first one. I never saw the other sequel, 28 Weeks Later. I don't know whether or not the century would be higher or lower if I saw that, but whatever. The first one was really good, so I guess bring on the sequel. Number 13 is Wallace & Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul, the next feature-length outing from Aardman's Wallace & Gromit, going straight to Netflix this January, at least in America. I'm not going to pretend I've caught up on all of the Wallace & Gromit stuff, but I liked what I've seen from them. In this one, the duo's penguin enemy wants revenge for putting him behind bars, so he corrupts Wallace's new invention, some kind of robot gnome, and turns it evil. If it's like their usual adventures, this should be fun. Number 12.
His name is Kal-El. He will call himself Clark Kent. But the world will know him as Superman. This year, Superman brings you the gift of flight. Superman, the movie.
Number 12 is Paddington and Prue, another British family film. The first two Paddington movies were nice feel-good movies, and I'm hoping that this could round out the trilogy in a similar way. Okay, this may have already come out on its home country of the UK, but it's a 2025 movie where I live, so there. Another last-minute addition. At wherever this is, it's Warfare, from A24 and directed by Iraq war veteran Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland, who did Ex Machina, Annihilation, and Civil War, based on Mendoza's real-life experiences in combat. a semi-autobiographical war movie, and it has a very tense trailer. Add Garland's involvement, and this could end up being one of the year's better movies. At number 11, we have Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, the final installment in the Mission Impossible franchise, and the conclusion to Dead Reckoning Part 1. I'm guessing Paramount was cautious to actually call it Dead Reckoning Part 2 because Part 1 made less money than expected. Years from now, people will be looking up Dead Reckoning Part 2 only to find out that movie doesn't even exist. Anyway, this franchise is in its prime, an interesting spy saga made into a great one by Tom Cruise's stunts, and it would be interesting to see more of that trademark action and stunts. Let's see how he tops himself this time. For the closer, let's hope they end on a high note, or at least an appropriately big note. Can people stop dropping intriguing trailers until I finish making this video? Before I get to the top 10, I'm putting in yet another last-minute addition, Death of a Unicorn, from A24 and starring Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega. It's about some people who accidentally run over a unicorn on their way to vacation with a wealthy pharmaceutical exec, and they try to profit off its carcass, and its unicorn friend wants revenge. It looks like a dark comedy with a few elements of horror. Yeah, they managed to make a unicorn seem menacing. This is the kind of weird, original thing that I tend to go for, and I'm intrigued. And now we've reached the top 10 of our top 10 list. At number 10, it's Sinners. Disclaimer, I'm probably going to include footage from the trailer and it will be in black and white. The actual movie isn't like that, it's from Warner Brothers and their copyright bots are really hard on me. I'm going to see if they go easier if I put it in black and white. Anyway, this is a new horror movie from Ryan Coogler, director of Black Panther, Creed, and Fruitvale Station. It stars Michael B. Jordan as a vampire hunter in what appears to be early 20th century America. Either way, it's a vampire movie that appears to have some kind of ambition behind it, and with recognizable names in front of and behind the camera. So that's a big selling point for me. And with an interesting trailer, I see potential here to be one of the better horror movies of the year. At number 9 is The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. Hey, remember when Warner Brothers actually cared about art? How cruel must fate be to give us Space Jam 2 but not Coyote vs. Acme? No, I get it. Why distribute a movie that isn't just an ad? Anyway, at least instead of killing this one, they decided to leave it in the dumpster for someone else to find and distribute. You see, with this one, I'm guessing they were still facing backlash for Coyote vs. Acme, so they actually sold this one to a smaller company called Ketchup Entertainment. In my IMDB Bottom 100 series, I actually reviewed one of their movies, The Starving Games, where I said that they were so small that they didn't even have a Wikipedia page. Well, since then, they've grown, releasing a few wide-release movies and a straight-to-VOD Hellboy movie. Half of you might not remember these, but they at least show that the company is actually willing to put stuff into wide release, so you probably will have a chance to see this. It is the first fully animated Looney Tunes movie to get a theatrical release, done entirely with hand-drawn animation, from the team behind the newer version of the show Looney Tunes Cartoons, which is on Max, for now. And feedback from film festivals seems to be really positive. It'll be nice to see a good old-fashioned Looney Tunes cartoon on the big screen, and if it does well enough, maybe Warner Bros. Will finally release Coyote vs. Acme. Therefore, if you don't go see this movie, I will track you down and drop a fucking anvil on your head. Number 8. Untitled Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Not much is known about this except that it stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, and Regina Hall. This will be PTA's 10th film, and is first to be released in IMAX. Whatever it is, it's Paul Thomas Anderson, so you know it's gotta be good. And now at number 7, it's Predator Badlands, the latest installment in the Predator franchise. Not much is known about this one either, except that it stars Elle Fanning and it's from the team that made Prey, the most recent and one of the most acclaimed sequels. I really like that one, and I hope to see another installment like that. Bring it on. At number 6, it's The Running Man, based on a novel by Stephen King and also technically a remake of the other adaptation from the 90s starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I haven't seen. And this one is from director Edgar Wright, which is the main reason it's here. I really like his previous work and his style. It also stars Glenn Powell and is said to be closer to the source material. And I'm excited to see Stephen King done through the eyes of Edgar Wright. Number 5 is Wicked for Good. Hey, remember when I put Wicked in my top 5? Yeah, well, that was just half of the play story, and it straight up ends on a to be continued. Well, the first half was a powerful musical with some great performances from talented singers. Let's hope this second part lives up to it. If it could all just turn into a musical so epic that one movie couldn't hold it. Please don't let this be an It situation. Disclaimer, It Chapter 2 was okay. At number 4, we have The Monkey. Speaking of Stephen King, yes, this is based on one of his short stories, produced by James Wan and directed by Osgood Perkins, director of Longlegs. That's a great pedigree, and I guess the fact that it's from Neon is also a good sign. Yes, Longlegs may have been a little overhyped, but I still thought it was a great horror movie. I think if the marketing didn't prop it up as the next Silence of the Lambs, it would be more widely regarded as one of this year's best horror movies. This one appears to be about a toy monkey that causes bad things to happen to people, I guess. The trailer makes it look like it has hints of Final Destination. With this studio and director, we could be looking at the art house version of Final Destination. I mean, they aren't particularly artsy, but it's less mainstream, I guess, or at least that's what they sell themselves as. At the very least, James Wan will keep it accessible if it wasn't already. Oh yeah, there's also another Final Destination coming out. Was thinking of adding that to the list, but didn't. Anyway, King, Wan, and Perkins coming together for one movie should lead to something special. Number 3, Superman. Can you believe that there's only one superhero movie on this list? I mean, there are a few Marvel movies coming out, but none of them really jump out at me. I mean, they could still be good. I probably will still see them. Probably in the theaters with my AMC A-list account. But none of them really scream, put it on this list. Although DC's one movie does. Quality over quantity. The start of the new DC universe, starting over after the old one was finally put out of its misery, beginning with a movie about the big one, Superman. And what puts it here is the director, James Gunn, the mind behind all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and the Suicide Squad, both my favorite movies of each universe. He's now been tasked with getting DC movies back on track, and given his past success, he might actually do it. This one apparently will stay truer to the spirit of the original comics than the dark comedic elements of his most known work, which is the best thing to do for this character. No disrespect to the darker Superman stories, and definitely no disrespect to Gunn's previous style, but this is the best way to do Superman. He is, at his core, a symbol of hope, and he should remain that, especially in times like these. Remember a few years ago when basically every movie that was about kindness or had a feel-good attitude was advertised with a critic blurb that called it the movie that we need now, before that became kind of a cliche? Well, cliche or not, we need Superman now. And behind James Gunn's supposed edgelord tendencies, he has actually showed himself to be good with characters and emotions. And that should definitely help with this one. He's gone a little bit away from his trauma roots with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He's a talented director, especially with superhero movies. He should be able to drift just a little farther away from those roots to make a great Superman movie. Number 2 is the untitled Matt Stone and Trey Parker musical. Pretty self-explanatory what this movie is. Matt Stone and Trey Parker are the creators of South Park, Team America, and Book of Mormon. What's really interesting is that this also has the involvement of Kendrick Lamar. It's apparently only as a producer, but I'd be surprised if it didn't give him a little more to do, like maybe write a few songs or straight up have him perform in a scene. Either way, not much else is known about this movie, but I really like Stone and Parker's work, so even if Lamar doesn't do much on screen, which I hope is not the case, this should at the very least be a good musical comedy or satire or whatever this is. And now we finally reach my number 1 pick, my most anticipated movie of the year, and it is Mickey 17. From, oh no, not these guys again, comes a movie that actually looks like it was viewed as more than just a money machine. From director Bong Joon-ho, the Academy Award-winning man behind Parasite and Snowpiercer. It stars Robert Pattinson as a future worker named Mickey who has a pretty dangerous job, but that's okay because they clone him and bring him back to life every time he dies. No biggie. But then eventually there are 2 versions of Mickey at the same time, and that causes some problems. This was also on my most anticipated movies of 2024 list, back when it was still releasing then. At that point all there was a short video promo that pretty much just said the title and the people involved, and that was enough for me to put it at number 3. Now that there's actually a trailer out, I have to say it has a much lighter, more humorous tone than expected. The first promo was basically just, ooh, sci-fi thriller, but now it's like a completely different movie. Hey, remember, Parasite also had heavy comic elements. And it looks a little more interesting. I mean, now that they're actually telling us what it's about. Apparently it's based on a book, so at least some people knew what it was about back then, but not me. So now that I have a better grasp on the story and vibes, I'm more excited. It looks like an interesting sci-fi story that will probably have the social commentary of Joon-ho's other work. Joon-ho has made some great movies, and Pattinson has proved himself to be a talented, respectable actor after the Twilight series ended, so this should be fun, if not one of the best of the year. And that's my list. Let me know what you're excited for in the comment section. And I'm bad at writing closes for these videos. Subscribe so you can actually hear my thoughts on these movies when and if I actually see them.